Hello, everybody. This is Faheem Jackson, and this is episode 34 of In the Know, a daily short form podcast show which is aimed at putting people in the know. A show where I cover a variety of topics using my experiences and viewpoints in life to put people in the know. What is the know? It's the understanding that seems to be hard for people to grasp, which could make their lives a lot simpler. The following is today's intro speech into the topic of today. And the introduction speech is regarding teachers using smart devices to connect to their students. In a time where we're all locked into our computing devices, how do some of the more challenging career paths cope? And when I say that, I mean our educators. It's hard enough getting adults to put down their devices and focus. So when the students in school, the job becomes that much more difficult. Their attention span was tough to manage before the devices. Now it's even more difficult. But is that a way that this constant attention to our devices, laptops, and tablets can be used to the advantage of the educators? Because technology has taken over so much that we use these devices for so much already. Maybe now is the time to make the switch in schools from books to devices. How educators can use smart devices to their advantage in the classroom. Let's look at some different devices. Let's look at our cell phones. Students are constantly on their cell phones, so much so that they are losing their ability to effectively communicate with each other. And that has become a problem for the education system. Teachers are finding it more and more difficult to function on their jobs with so many young people tapped into their cell phones. How do you teach a lesson plan when so many eyes are slightly looking down at their screens? Well, you're going to have to find a way where you educate them with their distractions, meaning tapping into their very social media they use as a means to educate. Let's look at some tablets. Parents are known to give these to their very young children. So young, I've even seen toddlers with them. So that's what we're doing, getting our babies hooked on smart devices. Or maybe not, because this could be used to capture their attention at a very young age. And then we're able to filter them with what we want them to learn and use this tool to educate how we want them to, as well as teaching them the safety guidelines of how to use the devices. This way, once school is entered by this young child, devices aren't new and they already know what the use is for in school. What about laptops? So many young students already own them, so using device is nothing new. As a matter of fact, I remember when certain teachers started allowing laptops in the classroom. Only a small few had them because it was the early 2000s. They were the small Apple laptops. And I think in a class one or two, I'm pretty sure there was a girl I remember. She had one. Besides that, we all had notebooks and pencils. But today, almost every kid has a laptop. Even kids that are growing up in less than adequate financial situations have their own laptops. What about desktop computers? These are still used in school computer labs, and that's because most people have devices, but there are still a lot of kids locked out. So the school is the place where they can get the most accomplished. So not much has been really changed about this except for the advent of social media. So this teacher still catches kids sneaking and taking a little peek over at their social media accounts while they're on their desktops at school. What about the cost to the system to supply devices for young people in school? If we as a nation tried to get a device such as a laptop to each student for them to use, it would be beyond costly. As a matter of fact, the primary student body, along with the secondary student body, would amount to about 64 million students, and that's not even post high school. That means even a small, inexpensive computer could come as a cost to the system anywhere from 15 to 20 billion dollars. Now that is a small amount of money considering what they spend overall. But when you factor in other expenditures of the government, you're talking a lot of money towards education. And then you have to take into consideration what may happen in case that student lose their computer. Or there are instances where kids' parents have been known to sell their computing devices toward household needs. What are the teachers' takes on all of this? Educators would most likely want students to pay closer attention to the lesson without a distraction of the device. But if the students are more receptive to the devices, then the teacher is more apt to bring in devices so that the student's attention away from the devices of distraction onto the educator. But the administration is not going to see things this way. It's not good enough of an excuse for them to change their standards. What about parents' take? The parental take is these individuals, they could really care less what the method is because their child is receiving an education that will aid them in their future success. Now, for the most part, parents don't want their children to be constantly on their mobile devices because once they come home, they're still on their mobile devices. And it has been a proven fact that mobile devices have a negative impact on the lives of young children and teenagers, especially when they're using social media. So the parents could potentially have an adverse reaction to more devices being brought into the classroom and into the lives of young children. Let's look at the administration's take. As for these people, they don't see the real purpose of allowing the children to have these devices in schools. They feel they have enough devices. To them, their job is to provide the minimum that is the most effective for what they provide. And what that means is that the quality is going to be lower because they have to provide so much for so many. So, because of this, the government has no real interest in allowing these smart devices into the classroom at their expense. Now, if the school raised the money themselves, maybe then the government might come up with some money on the side to assist. You know, match what they've raised. But there are too many schools and too many students from across the country to supply all students with smart devices. So, with the end statement, why we should be using more smart devices in the classroom. When you bring the new forms of technology into the classroom, you're allowing the child to be an early adapter. They're using and going to be using more and more of these devices in the future. But with this, there are so many other issues that arise because of the cautionary tales attached to bringing something into the classroom that teachers and parents feel strongly against from the start. Yet, you have to be willing to get the attention somehow. Why not try something new? We tried so many other things. So, thanks for listening to In the Know, and can't wait to bring the next episode where we talk about going to school in state or out of state for college.